Stan Arthur here for the I Love St. Pete Facebook group. If you're a business owner looking to connect with tens of thousands of potential new local customers, you owe it to yourself to get enrolled in our Key Tag Rewards program. Since 2019, we've signed up more than 200 local merchants. Sponsor opportunities are available too, such as our group banner ad and even your own custom key tags. Just go to stpetekeytag.com, get enrolled, and get ready to get busy. stpetekeytag.com.
Well, we think with Logan, we think he can play the 5, the 4, and the 3 technique. We think that he rushes very well inside, and that's what probably piqued our interest the most. His value in the passing game is 3 technique. So he's got, a lot of natural ability. He's got a lot of room for improvement, just like all these guys. But I would say his rushing skills, his from the inside, is what we like the most.
That was General Manager Jason Light tonight after selecting Logan Hall, defensive lineman out of the University of Houston. Hall was asked about how it felt to be a Buck.
It's really been an amazing process. Obviously, I was a bit anxious, but if I wasn't too invested on where I would have went, God has a plan for me, and I knew He was going to put me just where I belong. So, really good vibes. Just the people I love in the house, really close family, and my agent. So, I've been having a blast. Got to see a lot of guys I know that I worked with go early and go in the first. So it's been really cool for me.
Todd Bowles and the Bucs weren't done from there as they traded back into the second round to get Central Michigan offensive lineman Luke Gedeke, who most likely will play the left guard spot. I asked him, did he get any inspiration from former Bucs offensive lineman Ali Marpet? And here's what he had to say.
Us smaller school guys, yeah, I definitely I feel like we play with a chip on our shoulder at the end of the day. I mean, he's definitely an inspiration. I really like to model my game around, I really like watching Braden Smith a lot, right tackle for the Colts. Just like watching his hand usage. And then Zach Martin as well for the Cowboys. I really like watching him. I mean, just the carnage he creates every play, just taking it to guys. I mean, there's not too many plays where he's not throwing guys onto the ground. So
the Bucs finished off their night with a third-round running back, Rashard White from Arizona State. His former coach, Herm Edwards, compared him to the great Marcus Allen.
I feel like everybody has an opinion. And of course, Coach, Herm's opinion is very credible because what he has done. And I had a great relationship with Coach Herm. Wouldn't trade it for the world. He has taught me a lot and helped me get to where I am at today, definitely. And he just really, helped me just be me, just become more understanding of being a mature man. And when I mean that, just I have a daughter, things like that. So just being a father, just being a good human being in society and things play out how they're supposed to.
So night one is in the books for the NFL draft for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They pick up a defensive tackle, a guard, and a flashy running back. Now the question is, what can Jason Light and crew do on day 2 of the NFL draft? On site from One Buccaneer Place, I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about.
I feel like a broken record. I think every year I stand up here and say, you'll never hear a GM say, I think we had a terrible night, So, but I feel we all feel very, very good. I feel like cracking a beer, so that's a good sign.
BetUS.com. If you guys are betting on the games, whether it's NFL, NCAA, of course, you're not going to do that now. Maybe basketball, not football, but of course the NHL, NBA, go to BetUS.com. You get a 125% sign-up bonus. And also, if you use this code right here, the promo code of TSW22, which, by the way, stands for the sports web, TSW22, or call that number 1-800-69-BET-US. Again, 1-800-69-BET-US, and put in that promo code TSW22, and I would really appreciate that.
I've had 27 beers spilled on me. Make that 28.
I've only got one place to go before the game.
BetUS.com.
Sign up at BetUS.com and get the best bonuses in the...
Say Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Say, I love football.
But there's no red.
Say this. Say Tampa. Bay. Bay. Tampa. Tampa. Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay. Say Tampa. Bay. Bay. Oh my God, she's so smart and she's so precious. I love her to death.
What's going on, guys? It's your host, Peter Blake here of the Sports Web live on a Tuesday night. Happy Tuesday. Gotta love that, right?
Yes!
Not the biggest fan of Tuesday, but it's good to see you guys back here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television live on I Love St. Pete, the hub. And, of course, I Love St. Pete, Amped Up Sports, all those platforms as I'm kind of just rambling on here after what happened last night. But how do we start off the Sports Web? Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. And what the heck was that last night by the Tampa Bay Lightning? I get it. It's game one. It's a long series. Don't freak out, Peter. It's all right. Tampa Bay Lightning respond usually when they lose a game. Absolutely. There's some crazy record out there when they lose game one or when they lose a game, the very next game, they're on top of it. But the effort last night wasn't there. And I know predominantly we talk Bucs on this show. We had to give some love to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Game one, but it was not good last night. Not good at all, losing to the Toronto Maple Leafs 5-0. So on tonight's show, we will talk to the legend himself, former Coach Scout and now media member of Amped Up Sports, Night Sports Productions, Mr. Leo Haggerty, about not only your Tampa Bay Lightning, but also your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who went through the draft process. What did you think of it? Want to hear from you tonight. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. After that, 9:30, we will have J.C. Allen of Pewter Report, getting his thoughts, some pressers today from the defensive co-defensive coordinator, Casey Rogers. So lots of things to cover tonight. Want to hear from you. What do you think about the draft? Did the Bucs kill it? From most of the publications I've seen, I think they did a pretty good job. But it's tough to tell, right? It's tough to tell what a draft is the first year. You usually see that about 2 or 3 years down the road. So we'll see the impact of some of these rookies, especially Mr. Logan Hall. Coming in, you saw the package there. Absolutely. They're excited about him. 6'6", 283. We don't know the status of Ndamukong Suh, if he's going to be re-signed or not. You don't know the status of Rob Gronkowski, although he came out the other day and said the only way he would be re-signed is what? We'll get into that. But going back to the Lightning, nothing against Hall & Oates, but if I have to hear that song again, You're Making My Dreams Come True, it's going to give me nightmares. Because that's what it was last night. I mean, you know how bad music is these days? You couldn't come up with a better goal song than that, Toronto. Of course, it's been, since 2004 they've won a playoff series. They were excited last night. The crowd was excited last night. The Lightning came out flat. They got beat in every category. So game 2 Wednesday night, we won't have a show. Sorry, I got to devote it to the Tampa Bay Lightning. I want to watch this team play. And also for Amped Up Sports, I will be covering game 3 on Friday night and game 4 on Sunday night at Amalie Arena. So there you go. It's going to be a busy week as always here on Amped Up Sports on the evolution of sports talk television. But I love it. But going back to it, tell me your music is bad today when you have a song, 35 years ago? Nothing against Hall & Oates, but once again, if I have to hear that song again, I'm going to shoot myself. Hopefully the Lightning can make some adjustments, namely getting shots on a 5-minute power play. Uh-oh. But again, give credit to where credit is due. Toronto was ready for it. They were aggressive defensively on that end, and they did everything they could to make sure the Lightning were messed up last night. Lazy passing, whiffs on shots. Stamkos missed a wide open net. He had an opportunity there with Kucherov and Stamkos. The player for Toronto makes a great play to stop that. So we can talk about your Tampa Bay Lightning, talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, talk about your favorite NFL team when it comes to the draft. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. So without further ado, speaking of the 80s, no Hall & Oates tonight, okay? Let's go with Leo's intro. Here we go. All right, former Coach Scout and now media member of Amped Up Sports Night Sports Productions here live on the Evolution, Mr. Leo Haggerty. Welcome to the Evolution. And I came in with saying, if I had to hear that Hall & Oates song one more time, You're Making My Dreams Come True, it would leave me with nightmares because that's all you heard last night from the Maple Leafs against the Lightning in game 1. Welcome to the Sports Web, my friend.
Yeah, Peter, it was not a real good showing by the Lightning, but I'll tell you what. I think Toronto played their ace card last night, and you showed it right during the power plays, and Phil Esposito picked it up right away. He said, they're running 2 people at Kucherov. And what they did, especially during that 5-minute power play, they attacked the puck. They know that the Lightning do not like to move a lot on the power play. They're going to keep Kucherov on the right wing. They're going to keep Stamkos the left wing right there at the dot. Hedman's going to be at the point. Point's going to be in front of the net, and Killorn's going to roam the baseline behind the net. Yeah. That's it. And give Toronto some credit now. They look like the Carolina Hurricane, the way they were attacking. And the Lightning weren't ready for it. Guess what? They'll be ready for it Wednesday night. And Peter, for all you people that are thinking the sky is falling, remember, the playoffs don't start until the visiting team wins a game. So, again, Toronto wins tomorrow night. You're going to be there Friday and Sunday. If the Lightning win, now it's best of 3, not best of 7.
Do you think it is a must-game win tomorrow night? I mean, from the Lightning's their psyche, I get it, they're a veteran team, but the way they play, they look flat. Is it a must-win game? Or even if you do lose tomorrow night, which I don't expect the Lightning to. I mean, there's a crazy record out there. Our own TJ, our friend of the show, TJ Reeves, put out there when the Lightning lose a game, the very next game, they have an opportunity to win. I mean, have you heard that statistics? And you have to think that Vasilevsky will be a lot better, although I don't necessarily put this game on him. I don't think he was really helped out by the defense last night. What do you say?
Oh, absolutely. And my daughter, Kate, brought up a great point. We were sitting there at her house midway through the first period, and she goes, I hate it when the goaltender leaves the net. Stay in the net. And lo and behold, Vasilevsky goes out. The puck takes a weird hop, goes right to Matthews' goal. And immediately I get a text in capital letters, stay in the net. Okay. You know what, Peter? That's the kind of game I would rather lose that game than 2-1 in overtime. Because, now you're not pointing fingers. You're not doing that, man. It was a team loss. And I expect the Lightning come out firing. And again, Peter, they got to go to Canada. That's the problem, is that right now, Canada's almost in lockdown again. So it's a tough situation for the Lightning to handle. But you know what? I think they will. I think they'll come away with a win tomorrow night, and then we'll see what happens back in Amalie Arena.
All right, let's go back out to the comments here. Christopher Cole says, hey, what's up, Mr. Blake and everyone? What's going on, Christopher? Let me go ahead and fire the cannons for that. Appreciate you as always. Roger Shue says, what's up, you're all? What's up with you? Christopher Cole, I'm making a bold prediction. Luka Decky will start day 1. We'll get back to that in a moment. We'll continue our Lightning talk and then go into the Bucks there. Lightning are not good in game 1s. I think they're like 5-4 in game 1s. Is that true?
Yeah, lately they haven't been real good in game 1s.
No. And I mean, again, this kind of follows suit with, what they've done all year long. I love the Lightning, and they've been tremendous superstars, but they get off to bad starts, and they got off to a bad start last night. And I think it also goes back to that power play. How surprised were you by that power play? 5 minutes in, you get a major on Clifford, who goes out. By the way, he's suspended, Kyle Clifford, for the game misconduct against Ross Colton, who just got beat up last night. I think the coach put it out there. He said this is going to be a brutal, violent series, and I feel like Toronto feels like they were going to have to be more physical with Tampa Bay. So going back to it, how surprised were you with that 5-minute power play that the Lightning, as hot as they've been in the power play lately, weren't able to generate much of anything?
Only because they weren't prepared for what Toronto was going to do.
Yeah.
They'll be ready for it now, Peter. And again, we've seen that. We sat at games and watched, and normally teams do not chance coming out on Kucherov because if he threads the needle, now it's 4-on-2, and you don't want that. So, again, Toronto played their card.
Yep.
Give them credit. Now let's see what the Lightning do to counter that. Because Toronto may do something totally different in game 2 because they know. Peter, it's the same analogy I'm going to give you. Georgia, Alabama. Alabama won the SEC championship. You know the only problem was? They put the blueprint on what Georgia needed to do to win the national championship when they played again. So, again, Toronto put it right out there. Here's what we're going to do. See what you can do to stop it.
Good stuff. We're on with the legend himself, Leo Haggerty of Amped Up Sports here on the Evolution. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Let's go out to Roger Shue, who's being a troll bag tonight. So we shall give you this. Bolts done in round 1 again. Okay, what they weren't done in round 1 last year or the year before. So I don't know what you're talking about. And what's up, Peter says, Antonio, thanks a lot for coming on, Antonio. Woo! All right. So with that being said, Sergachev last night, you watched him. Rough game. And another thing I noticed, not only Sergachev, Hedman didn't necessarily have a bad game all around, but the lazy passing has got to stop out of this series. Toronto will make them pay if they turn over the puck and continue to turn over the puck, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's the playoffs, Peter. Anybody in there, they're going to jump on that. And, you talk about bad luck. The Lightning have a power play. The pass around the boards in the cycle hits the referee. And then Toronto tries to clear. Hedman gets down to block it, and it bounces, hits something, bounces over him. Now he's trying to make a run on it. Oh, there I go.
You made a run on it, and then the phone just made a run on it. We got to get you a tripod, my friend.
No, I just got to stop moving around. But and again, Hedman couldn't get back, and they get a shorthanded goal. And the one thing we know about 88 is he rises to the occasion. If I'm not mistaken, Peter, either 4 or 5 clinching games, he's pitched a shutout. I know 4 last year, maybe 1, maybe 5, and maybe 1 from the Dallas the year before. But, hey, my money's – I said it was going to be the Lightning in 6, and I'm sticking with it.
I think you're right about that. And Campbell on the other side of the netminder for the Maple Leafs was very good. Although not a lot of shots there, 24. He's quite young. I think he's only played in 8 games, but he has a great goals against percentage. So we'll see what happens tomorrow night. With that being said, do you think this will continue to be a physical series where Toronto and Tampa Bay will mix it up? and how should the refs call this series, in your opinion?
You know what, Peter? John Cooper sat there and said, hey, we got to get ready for playoff hockey when they don't call penalties.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been watching the rest of the playoffs, but I'll tell you what, they have not put their whistle in their pocket.
No.
They are calling this like it's a regular, and I am happy to see it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you are just seeing, like last night, I think there were 3 penalties in the Wild game with the Blues in the first 3 minutes, which was great. And again, if it's a penalty in November, it should be a penalty in May.
Yeah.
So that's good. And, the guys will get used to that. And let's see what happens here in game 2. When we look at what's going to what goes on, Cooper may juggle the lines a little bit, but now that he knows they're going to call penalties, I would not want to see, if Toronto's in the box 4 or 5 times tomorrow, that Lightning power play is going to start to click.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with you on that. And 0 for 5 on the power play was probably one of the most surprising aspects. The other aspect of it, and then we'll go to the Bucs, was we coming into it, Toronto is great shorthanded. They had more opportunities on their shorthanded opportunity, their penalty kill, than the Lightning had on their power play. Were you surprised by that?
Peter, was like Toronto was on a power play when they were shorthanded.
Right. I know.
And again, it caught the Lightning by surprise. And that first power play, that 5-minute one, it was almost like, whoa, what's going on here? This is not supposed to happen. We're not prepared for this.
Right.
And now they are. So, again, Peter, Toronto had a home game for a reason. They had a better record. You should win at home. That's what's supposed to happen. It should come down to a game 7 in your building.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I was not. What I was more shocked about last night, Peter, was the visiting teams that won. Except in the East, Boston got slapped by the Hurricanes 5-1. Tampa got beat 5-0. But then the visiting team won both games out there. St. Louis beat the Wild, and LA comes back 4-3 against
Edmonton.
The Edmonton Oilers. And again, Mike Quick, he's looking like the Mike Quick of 10 years ago when they won the Stanley Cup.
Absolutely. I think you're talking about Mike Smith, actually.
No, Mike Quick for the Kings. Mike Smith.
Jonathan Quick. You're talking
Jonathan Quick. Hey, pick a Quick. I'll take first names for 200, Alex.
There you go. Absolutely. The legend of self, Leo Haggerty here of Amped Up Sports. I knew you were in the same vicinity. Mike Smith, who's a former Lightning goalie, doing well.
Right.
And of course, Jonathan Quick of the LA Kings. You're exactly right. 2014 or 2015 they won the Stanley Cup?
It was back there. We'll have to Google that one. Hey, Christopher Cole, Google that in Texas.
Yes, there you go. Christopher says, sloppy game by the Lightning. All right, let's move on to the Bucs draft. Your initial impressions of this Bucs draft the last 2 days on Friday and Saturday, as of course I was out there covering it. But what were you surprised by? Were you excited? I mean, I see most of the publications. They were excited. They're giving the Bucs a B+, A+. I haven't seen any low grades. What was your impression of the Bucs draft?
They filled need without a reach, Peter.
Okay.
And again, when you see their first pick, you got to wonder if Sue's coming back or not.
Right.
I think they may have closed the door on that one, but we'll see about that. And again, they needed a running back because they lost to Ronald Jones, went to the Chiefs.
Right.
The one thing they haven't done, Peter, is the wide receiver. But I think when they're looking out at who's left in free agency, you got T.Y. Hilton, you got Julio Jones, you got Jarvis Landry, you got Odell Beckham Jr. If any of them are healthy and there's some tread on the tire, they may take a look at one of those, depending upon where Godwin is in his rehab.
Well, we heard from Gronk, and he said one of the reasons why the main reason why he may sign back with the Bucs if they sign Julian Edelman. Now, Edelman has been retired. He was asked if he would go to the Bucs a couple years ago. He said he would not. So any any thing to get Bucs fans excited about them possibly signing Julian Edelman, or once again is Gronk just trolling everybody?
Tough question, Peter. I don't know. If you're Jason Light, and if Gronk says, "Hey, you signed Julian Edelman, I'll come back," and again, I would use Edelman maybe as a return guy.
Yeah,
it's something you can do. You can sign him for the veteran minimum, and you get 87 back. That's the big thing. But I don't know how much Edelman wants to play. I mean, you talk about a tire that has no tread left.
Yeah,
maybe Julian Edelman. Hey, the guy had a great career. He played hard. He left it on the field. Does he want to come back? That's a tough call.
That is a tough call. I still think he'll return. I'm not sure about Sue. I'm not sure about JPP at this point, especially JPP. I think they like what they have there. Sue is certainly a possibility. Jason Light talked about that at the presser. He wasn't going to rule it out, even if they drafted a Logan Hall. But actually, you were at a presser today with the co-defensive coordinator, Casey Rogers, and your question was for him about coaching defensive linemen. So let's go out to that here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Here we go.
Get a guy out of college. Do you have to de-teach or reteach?
A lot of times with the way the game is going right now, with what they're saying, so much spread offense and this and that, you're really starting over in a lot of avenues. But the thing about a guy like Logan that we've got, or any new guy we get, the thing is the newness, the freshness, the athleticism, the stuff like that. That'll be fun to work with.
All right, so back here, what do you make of those comments? And what was your impression of him? Being the co-defensive coordinator, seemed pretty excited at this point. What did you think about Mr. Rogers there?
Well, you got to understand, Peter, they're co-defensive coordinators in name only. Todd Bowles is going to run the defense. He's going to call the plays, but there may be times he's called away to do head coach stuff. Well, you can't just stop and do nothing. You got to have somebody to pick up the ball. I'll go back to when John Gruden was the head coach. Guess who the offensive coordinator was when Gruden was here? Bill Muir, right? Yeah. You think Bill Muir would call the play ever? No. No. And it's nothing against these guys.
Mm-hmm.
But, and everybody talks about, well, how can Todd Bowles do this? Hey, guess what? Look at the Super Bowl. Both head coaches from Cincinnati and Los Angeles. They called their own plays on offense. It ain't hard, guys. It ain't hard. It can get done.
It absolutely can get done. You had another question for him. You were talking about the size of the defensive line. Pay attention here. There may be a joke later on. Here we go.
Between him and Nelson, you got gargantuan people on the edge. How important is that, especially in pass coverage?
That is really good length, and we'll really make more of a pitch this year. Getting the hands up and try to get more batted balls, because you kind of look. We got 6'6" here, 6'5" there, 6'4" here, 6'6" there. We like them big and long, so that's a good problem to have.
I am not touching that, Peter Blake. I don't care what you ask me right now. I cannot give you an answer that will even come close to being acceptable. So let's move on to the next one. There was enough there. That's going to go viral. I mean, that's going viral.
I was watching, I was editing it, and it's the kid in me. Of course, I'm 43 going on 4 years old. I saw that and I was like, wow, that would be a great sound. Now, maybe I shouldn't do that, but you mentioned it. Look, they got Nelson, they've got Hall on the outside, Joe Tryon, Shainka. I mean, what did you get out of his answer for that? I mean, they definitely like their guys. Go ahead and expound on it.
Yeah, let me expound on that one. Peter, you know what? The thing you can't coach is size and speed. And that was one of my questions later on. But they've got people on that edge coming. And again, if you can get your hands up and you're 6'5", 6'6", and you're like 6'4" in there, this is something that really becomes a problem for the quarterbacks. Because if you get your hands up at the right time, not only we get a deflected pass, but he may have to pull it down and go somewhere else. And all of a sudden, that guy on the other side's coming in, and he's bearing down on the QB. That's what you want.
Absolutely, and they want more of that pass rush. That's the reason why they drafted Hall in the first place, and they're thinking that, JTS, Joe Tryon Shainka, is going to give them that, and also Anthony Nelson, and that's the reason why I think they haven't signed JPP, because not only do you not know if he's 100% or not, but on top of it, his age is a factor, and if you do sign him, and I love JPP, you take away from that playing time from those young kids. We're on the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, who can laugh it up with me. I'm your host, Peter Blake, here live on the Sports Web on I Love St. Pete, the Hub, and Amped Up Sports. All right, you had another question for Nick Rapnoe, the safeties coach here?
Yeah.
All right, let's go out to that one about size of safeties here on the Evolution. Here we go.
You look at a safety. Is it more important to get that guy 6'1", 6'2", that can get down in the box, or you're just looking for that multifaceted player?
It would be ideal to have him 6'1" and 6'2". Unfortunately, a lot of the real good ones aren't 6'1" and 6'2", which I think, Winfield and Whitehead, pretty good safeties in the National Football League at 5'10" and 5'10". But yes, you'd like them bigger because they give you the arm span and so on and so forth. And really, they give you the matchup on the tight end that you want. All the tight ends are 6'4" and up. So you'd like at least a strong safety, 6 foot, 6'1". You'd love them 6'2". There just aren't a lot of them.
All right, welcome back to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. I mean, good stuff there from Nick Rapone. I don't know why I said Rapnoe. I need to re-Rapnoe at this point on Tuesday. This is the reason why I don't do a show.
He's related to Mike Quick.
There you go. Exactly. We're on the same wavelength at this point, Leo. So expound on that, please.
You know what, Peter? It's amazing how the Bucs have been getting away with the smaller safeties. And again, he brought up the fact Jordan Whitehead's going to be missed simply because he attacked people. He would. He had to tell him the night before, hey, you can't be that physical guy anymore. You got to, keep your head up, watch the ball, go from there. So that was an interesting commentary he had.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You had another good question about John Lynch. Listen up to this, guys, here on the Evolution. Here we go.
After he retired, could you play safety under these new rules? His answer was expletive deleted, no. How hard is it to temper the aggression of the safeties?
It's very hard. Like with Jordan Whitehead, I had to tell him every Saturday night. Now remember, keep your head up, lead with your shoulders, because you watch Jordan play, it's he don't care about his body. And with those kids that love contact, it's hard. Because it's a split second, that receiver puts his head down. So, John Lynch was exactly right because John played the game the way the game's supposed to be played.
And that, to me, I love that. I love that comment because we've
Peter, that's a tremendous comment of a coach saying, hey, stop changing the rules. It's a man's game. Let the men play it. And I'll tell you what, I got more out of that last two lines he said. John Lynch plays the game the way it was supposed to be played. Guess what? You come over the middle, I'm taking you out.
All right, good stuff there. Let's go back out to Rogers here, Casey Rogers, the co-defensive coordinator, talking about the cornerback play. I thought this was very good in itself. Here we go.
Is when we went back through the cut-ups, it was the thing that really stood out is that, when you took great in that position, how many balls went over our heads? And that really wasn't the case. So as we looked at them, then, Sean was coming off injury. We thought Carlton, the thing we kept knowing about him is the fact that we usually matched him with the best guy here and there. And he really held his own against a lot of marquee guys. And then Dean, he was making plays here and there. So we felt like we had the talent there. We just got to clean up a few things, and we're very confident in those guys.
And see, a lot of fans will hate that statement, but what I was seeing today was more attention to details, fundamentals, and they said it best. They weren't getting beat on deep plays. Besides maybe the Rams game, they had some breakdowns in that game. I thought that was really surprising, even though they still drafted a corner in the 5th round. It certainly seems like they're very happy with that back end, right, Leo?
Yeah, they're again, Peter. We said there in week 1 when they got hurt, and I said, this is not the place you want to get hurt, is in the secondary.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was patchwork for almost the first 7, 8, 9 games. And again, that puts a lot of pressure on your offense because you got to score points now because you're going to give up points.
The other thing I like from the coach, Nick, I'm going to say it wrong again. Rapone. He wants Antoine Winfield to take that next step. And he said, look, he's beautiful versus the run, but he wants to see him get 6 to 7 interceptions. Your thoughts on that? Because look, the sky's the limit for Winfield Jr. I mean, he's just unbelievable. But if he could get that 6 to 7 interceptions, that coach would absolutely be thrilled with that.
Oh, absolutely. And Peter, it starts up front.
Right.
That's the key. You got to get a pass rush so these kids can go back. If they're in zone, read the quarterback's eyes. If they're man, make sure that you stick to this guy for 3 or 4 seconds and don't give him that open area. And again, the problem with big receivers, Peter, is that when they turn around, if the ball's thrown up and away from the defender, they're going to separate just by size. And again, that Winfield, we know what he can do. But if he comes up with 6 or 7 interceptions, Peter, I'll even say 4 or 5. That's a great day for a safety. And I'll tell you what was funny, Peter. I know they asked the linebacker coach about Devin White and everything, and he told Devin, he said, "Hey, look, pal, you got 9 sacks 2 years ago. That's not the norm. That's not going to happen." Right. You get 4 or 5, we're happy with you. 9, anything over 4, that's gravy.
He also talked about dialing him down, and this would be Larry Foote, which was unbelievable comments today because, of course, you love Devin White and his athleticism, and you love to see him get after the quarterback, but sometimes he can play himself out of position, right?
Yeah, and you know what, Peter? I asked him. I said, "Is it hard to teach a guy to go downhill or to not go downhill?" And it was interesting, his comment there. He goes, that's a hard thing because these guys want to be aggressive. They want to go. And the biggest thing right now is you've got guys that are entering their 3rd, 4th, and 5th year.
Good point.
Together.
Yeah.
And that's the key. They starting to know each other. And it's a seamless transition from Bruce Arians to Todd Bowles from the defensive standpoint because nothing's going to change.
Nothing is going to change. One more final quote, and then we'll get you out of here. The legend himself, Leo Haggerty, with his time here on Amped Up Sports. Let's go out to, once again, Mr. Rogers on his thought process. In fact, if the Bucs do lose a Sue and JPP, who would assume the duty of leadership here on this team? Here we go.
Perspective, I'd say Shaq, which is a steady player for us, he really would have to step up into that role on the outside with Nelson and Joe and Cam being younger. Inside, Vita would have to step up and assume the role, which he should. Which he should. He comes to work every day. He's here. He knows what we have to do and what we have to get done. So really, through attrition, Vita should step up into the role up front. And then we still have 2 leaders at linebacker, so it'll be by committee. But those guys would have big shoes to fill.
Let me ask you this. Do you get the sense that they are going to move on from a Sue and a JPP, especially a Sue with the drafting of Hall? Or do you think, once again, that is still open and we'll finish out with that?
I think Sue's open. I think JPP is not.
Okay.
Only because they've got to get Joe Tryon, Shayanka on the field. They got to find out what they have with Nelson. And again, now you've got a nice rotation. And you know what, Peter? We spent 30 minutes, 15 minutes talking about the Bucs, and William Golston's name never came up. Isn't that amazing how this guy, he's like the forgotten man up there. But I'll tell you what, he's a beast inside too, because he's almost 6'6". He gets his hands up. They may be thinking that Golston can maybe get a lot of minutes and a lot of snaps.
Well, I think they think they can, and they were using the comparison when they drafted Hall. Somebody mentioned this in the presser that Hall is kind of similar to Golston. And look, at the end of the day, I think they want more out of Hall. Golston is definitely developed. He wasn't necessarily a pass rushing specialist. He's gotten better over time. And to me, he's an unsung hero that nobody really talks about, but he is an integral part to that defense, much like Mr. Leo Haggerty is to the sports web. By the way, happy birthday, 69 years old, my friend. How does it feel? What did you do special? And then we'll get you out of here to promote yourself.
Peter, I woke up and breathed. When you're 69, that's pretty much, you just want to be on the north side of the grass. That's the big thing. And I had a nice dinner with my daughter the couple days before, and going to go up to Charleston, South Carolina this weekend. Granddaughter does her first communion, Mother's Day, and all that.
Nice.
And I tell you what, Amped Up Sports is in capable hands, ladies and gentlemen, because Peter Blake's going to be there. And Peter Blake, with his equipment, just stick around because there'll be a lot of good stuff coming out of the Lightning press conference. And Peter, I'm going to send you Jim Rome's producer's email. You got to send that clip.
Okay.
Because I think Romy would fall off the chair laughing at that one.
Absolutely. We were falling off the chair. Good stuff here. Leo Haggerty, the legend himself here of Amped Up Sports on the Sports Web. Appreciate the time and have a good trip, my friend. All right?
All right. I'll probably come back on with you Thursday after Lightning game. How's that sound?
Sounds good, my friend. We'll do it. Lightning game, post-game edition. Hopefully winning time here. Wednesday, I think they have a game, right? Wednesday,
yeah.
Yep. All right. Wednesday. Sounds good, my friend. Appreciate the time. All right?
Take care, buddy.
All right, there you go. Leo Haggerty, the legend himself. We'll read these comments, and then we'll get out to J.C. Allen. A Pewter report. Let's go out to Dave. I think Edwards steps up this season. I think they hope he will do that because he's had his moments. We saw it last year with the 2 pick sixes versus the Atlanta Falcons. We also saw him be out of position. But look, you draft a guy in the 3rd round, you expect him to step up, and he's got every opportunity to do that. With now Jordan Whitehead with the New York Jets. And, of course, bringing in competition with Logan Ryan, of course, Keanu O'Neal. So good stuff. Let's go out to Dave again. Devin White, to me, has regressed, really needs to work on his pass coverage, also missing tackles so much. We'll go out to JC and ask him about that. Golston should step up as a leader. And Christopher Cole says Quick has 2 cups, 12 and 14. Very good. Thank you, Christopher. Let me go ahead and fire the cannons for that. Knew it was 14 the last time. Let's go ahead and get him on. I seen him out there at $1 place, smiling as ever. Why shouldn't he smile? We were both out there together covering the Bucs draft. Mr. J.C. Allen of Pewter Report. Man, it's been a long time since I've seen you. Welcome back to the Evolution, my friend. How you doing tonight?
Doing great, man. We had a great day over at $1 place with the press conferences. Just getting more information, more details about what's to come, these draft picks. I thought they had a really nice draft. So just prepping up for minicamp next week, banging out some articles and, just enjoying life.
All right. Sounds good, my friend. And you were killing it out there. I can kind of hear a little bit. You're a little bit tired, so I'll try not to keep you tonight, but I know you got some juice still left and you still got some tread on those tires. Let's talk about this draft. It starts in round 2. Of course, the Bucs trading out. Let's just talk about that aspect because they absolutely took Jacksonville for a ride, right?
They did. And the craziest part is I wrote a pre-draft article about some trade scenarios, and I almost hit it to the exact T. The only thing I had different was I had the Bucs giving 261 their last 7th rounder back. So, I actually gave Jacksonville more credit, thinking they'd probably get a little bit more, but now they got a heck of a deal. If you looked at we had an article up too about, the differences in picks that the Bucs got for it. Great deal. Obviously you start off the first round. They could have traded if they wanted to. They had a bunch of phone calls. That Green Bay deal that Minnesota took at 34 was on the table for the Bucs. They didn't want to slide down that far. They had a guy that they really wanted to draft, and they stuck around and got him because he was the last guy of the 5 guys they had on their board at 27. So when you have such strong feelings, you got to take the guy. And Logan Hall, I think, is going to be a heck of a pick.
I love the Logan Hall pick, but going back to it, I thought it was going to be Devontae Wyatt. What did you learn about why it wasn't Wyatt at 27?
I don't know if it necessarily wasn't if it was Hall over Wyatt or Wyatt over Hall. I think when they got there at 27, they had multiple guys. And if you look at them, they kind of tipped their hand. Jason Light said there was like 4 or 5 guys. Bull says there was about 5 guys there. And you look at the guys who were picked. I don't think they're going Cole Strange that high. And I don't think they're in on Karlaftis. So that leaves only 5 guys left. Devin Lloyd, the linebacker out of Utah. Dax Hill, the safety / corner out of Michigan. Devin Wyatt, the defensive tackle there out of Georgia. Lewis Seen, the safety out of Georgia. And the guy they ultimately picked was Logan Hall, the defensive tackle out of Houston. So if Wyatt was there and Houston wasn't, I think probably Wyatt would have been the pick. It's just kind of the way the board fell. I don't think they necessarily had an overwhelming grade of Wyatt over Hall that much. From what I've gathered, they had a higher grade actually on Hall. They probably would have went there. They had a second round grade on Wyatt. They had a second round grade on most of these guys. I mean, let's face it, this was not a star-studded draft. I only had about 13 first round grades total myself. So, but yeah, I think the way the board fell, you had a guy there. If maybe 2 or 3 of those guys were there, you probably would have saw a trade back from 33. I don't know if they would have took the Packers deal and moved all the way down, because it looks like the Packers were trying to get to 32. Offered to the 33. Finally, Minnesota accepted the 2 second-round picks, 53 and I think 59 or whatever it was for 34 to move up and grab Christian Watson. But I think they would have taken a smaller move down to acquire picks. But when you got one guy on the board, he's actually a position of need that you have as well. You have to go with that player. And I think they made a wise selection with Logan Hall. I think he's a little bit more versatile as well than Devontae Wyatt, who I kind of cooled off on leading up onto the draft. I've been high on on Logan Hall for months now. I mean, I had him in our Bucks battle plan as the Bucks pick. So I've been high on him for a while and his versatility.
Surprised the Bucks didn't go wide receiver, because we talked about Christian Watson. Of course, he ended up going to the Packers. Thank God now, because the Packers got a second round wide receiver for Aaron Rodgers, and hopefully that makes them happy. But are you surprised that the Bucks, not only in the second round but any other round, didn't address that wide receiving position? And should we now assume that possibly they could go out in the free agency and get a Julio Jones, a Jarvis Landry, or somebody like that?
I look at the way the board fell, and I don't think there was really – everyone's talking about how deep this wide receiver pool was, how deep it was. But for the Bucks and what they look for in an early round wide receiver, there was only a handful of players that I really that they met with, and I really thought were true fits for them. Obviously, once you get to the 4th round and later, you've seen the Jalen Dardens, the Scotty Millers, the shorter type wide receivers that have some speed to them, or could be versatile guys on special teams that they'll take a chance on. But when they're going for a guy who fits their system, who they want as a potential starter, these guys are all above 6 feet. They've got great triangle numbers. They've got good speed usually. And I just don't think there was any fits there that fit their mold going down the board. Maybe 1 or 2 guys, but at that point, you've got other positions of need, other players probably ranked higher. I think you feel pretty good about the group that you have now with Evans, Godwin, Gage, Perriman, Darden, Johnson, etc. Will they look to free agency? I think you always do, right? I mean, I don't. There's some guys, I don't think Jarvis Landry would be a fit. I think he'd be a little bit redundant. But a guy like Julio Jones that you mentioned, potentially. I mean, it depends on what he's going to take. I mean, these guys weren't signed in the first wave. They weren't signed in the second wave. And now we're coming to this third wave. We're seeing cuts happen. We're going to see more cuts happen after June 1st. We'll get those June 1st cuts. We'll get training camp. And then that's when guys start to kind of get desperate, especially older guys, who might not necessarily want to go through the rigors of training camp, but they want to get their hands on the playbook. They know what it means if you're going to be great or have a chance to have a great system and you're going into a new scheme, new system, you want to get your hands on that playbook. You want to get acclimated. You want to get adjusted with your quarterback sooner rather than later. So I think that's when we'll see a little bit more of urgency with those guys. But I wouldn't rule the Bucks out. It's just all cost right now. I mean, they are kind of strapped right now. They still got to account for bringing Gronk back, but possibly Sue if they feel like that. I think that's going to be a closer to training camp issue as well. Sue is a very savvy businessman, and he's not going to take the less than what he thinks he's worth. And I
Right.
don't know if the Bucs feel the same way about that, and they want to pay him that number, especially with having Logan Hall there. So it's going to be interesting to see how that whole ordeal plays out. I look at the Gronk situation. For me, it goes beyond. I think he would have retired if Brady stayed retired, right? But Brady's back. I think one of the things that kind of allures him to coming back more so than just another run with the boys. And, he's talked about the camaraderie in the locker room.
Sure.
Is going into the hall with Brady. They would just go into the hall together as the best tight end, the best quarterback. I keep saying I think that's too much of an alluring possibility for him, not only to play, but to go in with one of his good friends in the league and, in Tom. So
what do you make of his comments about Edelman? I mean, is that a possibility, or is Gronk trolling at that point?
That's just Gronk having some fun. Edelman was out there at the Gronk beach. He's probably like, I'll come back if Edelman comes back. We need the squirrel back with us. But I don't think his knees are shot, and he's just not the type of Bucs wide receiver. There's really not a role for him on this field. What they're looking for more of anything is probably another outside guy, because if Godwin does miss some time, that allows Gage to go inside. And allows him to fill that role as he's an outside guy. They're looking for more of someone outside. I think they'd be looking for more someone with speed, but at this point, there's not many guys that you can trust to be that number 4 guy. And maybe they could get another guy on the outside that's got some more possession ability, or I think Leo mentioned him. T.Y. Hilton is a good fit potentially. Julio Jones is a hot name because he's Julio Jones, and they got Russell Gage down here and Skip.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think Julio Jones makes sense, and I get it. A lot of people want to say he's going somewhere else, but if Tom Brady's recruiting you at the end of the day, and you're not sure if Godwin is going to be 100% and he's going to start the season, and we assume that he's going to start the season hurt because he's not 100%. You're not going with Mike Evans and Russell Gage. You got to go with somebody else. And I get it. Julio Jones has been hurt, but he's not going to be a full-time starter. Maybe early on, but not when Godwin comes back. So to me, it kind of makes sense a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, right. We'll see. We've got some time before, training camp comes up. No one wants to go to mandatory minicamp if they don't have to. So, I think we'll start to see in that dead low area, we might see some veterans decide to sign.
Yeah,
so it's going to be interesting.
Well, it's never dead on here on the Sports Well, we got JC Allen of Pewter Report. Let's go out to these comments here. I want to read Dave's here. Devin White, to me, has regressed. Really needs to work on his pass coverage. Also missing tackles too much. Do you see that? We talked about that today, or heard that today from Coach Larry Foote. I mean, what did you get out of that presser? And you saw Devin White. We know what he can do on the field. What's your take on it?
Yeah, this is the exit interviews. For media sessions, I asked him straight up, like, what do you need to do to get better? And he's pretty much said, I need to get, pay attention to more film study. I need to learn how to settle down and slow down. And Larry Foote echoed that. He said the same things. It's he needs to slow down and let plays process, and let things come to him. You mentioned the basketball reference. He's got to let things come to him more, and then read and react better. You can't just be a heat-seeking missile all over the field all the time just because he's got that athleticism. And he wants to make plays. We get it, but now you're taking yourself out of play. Sometimes you're taking teammates out of plays, and he's just got to slow down and get back to the key word of the day: fundamentals of the position, and just do a better job of playing the role. He's got an incredible mentor next to him in Levante David, incredible position coaches. Bob Sanders, who's the outside linebacker coach, but I'm sure he'll do some, was just amazing to listen to. And Larry Foote is just an amazing coach too. He's got that inside-outside versatility as a player, inside-outside versatility as a coach, and I think he's going to get him right. I expect a bounce-back season from Devin White this year. But we'll see. He's identified himself what he needs to work on. The coaches have identified what they need to work on, and they're going to work on it together. And we'll see where it comes from, where it comes during, once the season kicks off. But I think he'll have a bounce back here. I'm not too worried about it.
No, absolutely. And we're on with, again, JC Allen, Nick Rapone. I got his name right. Thank God for that.
Safety coach.
Yes. He talked about also the safeties processing. What do you get out of that back end? It seems like they're pretty happy with what they have, and certainly seems like this coach also has lots of confidence in Mike Edwards. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the group that they have back there. Antoine Winfield Jr. is on a all-pro trajectory. Made a Pro Bowl last year. I think he was robbed of Rookie of the Year his rookie season, and probably robbed of a Pro Bowl just the way he stepped in. And there's room for improvement. There's room for growth. I'm very happy they brought in a guy like Keanu Neal because I did not want to see him. He's got some position flexibility. Most of these safeties in Bulls defense will have some, but I did not want to see him taken out of that free safety role because his projection there is just too high. Can get some more interceptions like Coach Rapone said. I would love to see that. But as far as, Neal, if you can get back to those first 2 seasons, even that final season in Atlanta when he was that hard-hitting, 100-tackle guy, I think the Bucs will be great there. Logan Ryan, you're going to have him playing all over the field. Nickel, free safety, probably lined up in some strong safety packages as well, or bumping Antoine Winfield over to strong safety. And then the guy you mentioned, Mike Edwards, he's kind of he's that wild card back there. He's not a strong safety by any means. He's more of a free safety, but he can still play down the line of scrimmage, make some impact plays. We saw what he can do he's a ball hawk. He can get his hands on balls, whether he's getting pass deflections or interceptions for touchdowns. He's going to be that guy that they're going to rely on to cycle in and out of the field. They've got a lot of flexibility and a lot of depth back there. Obviously, injuries are going to play a huge part. I still think there's a chance that they either sign one more or they have an undrafted guy that they like as well. Nolan, oh man, I can't remember his name right now. I'll get it for you in a minute. Mm-hmm. But I think there's an outside shot. Maybe he's the guy. Nick Rapone talked about Troy Warner, Fred Warner's brother, who's on the team throughout the season last year. He talked about Chris Cooper, who was on the team on the practice squad all year last year, being able to step up and potentially get opportunities. So there's opportunities for all these guys to come in because there is that one spot I think left. If you count Logan Ryan as a cornerback or safety, it kind of depends on how you count them, whether you have 5 cornerbacks and 5 safeties. I think the number there is probably going to be 10, whether it's 4 safeties, 6 corners, or whether it's 5 safeties, 5 corners, and you're counting Logan Ryan as a safety. I think that number will be 10 back there. There's an opportunity for another safety, I think, to make this roster. Nolan Turner out of Clemson is the undrafted guy who I think has a really shot. They really like him. He got the highest signing bonus out of any of the undrafted free agents. They didn't have to go out of control. He only made $15K as a signing bonus. A lot of these other teams, you're seeing reports of like $150K, $200,000 guaranteed. They didn't have to do that. You want to come to Tampa, come to Tampa.
Yeah.
And I think safety is one of the positions that they only brought in one as an undrafted free agent after not drafting any. They did bring in another pair of safeties for tryouts, but I think there's an opportunity for one of those players, whether it's the undrafted free agent this year, or Nolan Turner, or Warner, or Cooper, to step up and potentially steal one of those spots and be that fourth safety. Special teams is going to be huge for that spot, so we'll see how it shakes out.
Absolutely. All right, let's go back to the comments here. Dave says the draft didn't have much for elite or great talent, but I was happy Carolina took a quarterback that will keep them in the cellar for at least 3 to 4 years. You agree with that? We heard rumors about Matt Corral. Or Corral, I guess. He's drinking off the. He sounds like a young Brett Favre to me, doesn't it to you?
I was surprised they went with Corral over Howell. Howell played at UNC.
At UNC, you would think, right?
Have that. It's like the marketability type deal with Aiden Hutchinson,
right?
To Detroit. Not just the player, but marketability. The quarterback thing was just fascinating in general. The fact that a lot of these guys, you got Bailey Zappi going in the 4th over Sam Howell. Carson Strong going undrafted. Most of that is the medicals with the knee. But it was just really, really interesting how the draft. Kenny Pickett was the only one taken in the
first round.
And then you don't have another one taken until the 3rd round, and it's Desmond Ridder over Malik Willis, and it was just very interesting the way the quarterback. Carolina is going to Carolina. They're putting their chips in either the baskets of Sam Darnold again,
Right.
or potential Baker Mayfield talk was heating up, or maybe even Jimmy Garoppolo. They have the cap space for him. We'll see what happens. I don't really know what's going to go on. I think if San Francisco's smart, they hold on to Jimmy G. In the NFC conference this year, you've got a chance to potentially move the needle and at least get to the playoffs with a Jimmy G. I don't think this is the same case for a Trey Lance. So, and you've already, free agency's over, and you've already blown 25. We're just gonna have 25 million in cap space and not to sign anybody now. It makes no sense. So I don't know what's gonna happen there. I don't think Carolina competes this year at all. I would think they have a strong defense. They have obviously all the role players there at wide receiver, at running back. I don't know. And Jameis Winston
I mean, and look, they got
Mariota and Atlanta. So
I mean, they get Chris Olave from Ohio State. Olave. Man, I'm just having problems with names tonight. I just don't know what the hell I'm doing at this point. That's why I don't do shows on Tuesday.
It was a long week. It
Yeah, it was. And I'll tell you right now, getting Tyrann Mathieu. I mean, how surprised were you by that? Because I had somebody tell me, very close that the Bucs they were going to sign him to a minimal contract, but it certainly seemed like at the end of the day, New Orleans was trying to get a safety. They wanted to get a playmaker. They had talks with the Honey Badger, and then finally they made it happen. How much do you think he has left in the tank, and is that a big-time signing by the Saints?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's a big-time signing. Look at what they did to their defense. They brought in Marcus May. PJ Hill was back. They're always going to have a good defense. Dennis Allen was their defensive coordinator, and now he's their coach. So their defense is still going to, but it's okay. You can stop some people from scoring, and you're going to give, how much that defense gives this Bucs offense fits.
Yeah.
But it's moving the ball. Okay, so you got Chris Olave, great. Michael Thomas remains to be seen. That's a question mark what he's going to do. After that, your wide receivers aren't anything spectacular. Kamara's been banged up the last few years, and he's still got the biggest question mark of all is Jameis Winston. And a lot of people say, well, he looked pretty good, only 3 interceptions last year before he got hurt. And, he was doing a better job. Well, they didn't really let him do anything. He wasn't like it was Jameis Winston, go out there and play the position. It was like Jameis Winston, go out there and don't screw it up.
Right.
So if they kind of open him up a little bit more, we'll probably see some more mistakes that are more Jameis-esque that we're used to, and that will lead to maybe some dissension in the locker room, or I don't know what's going to happen with that.
Alvin Kamara is going to be suspended. There's no doubt about that. I mean, after that whole Las Vegas thing. So I'm curious to see how that all plays out. But you're exactly right. I mean, 23 passes a game, and that's the key when you have balance to your offense with Jameis Winston, because we know that he can definitely have some turnover problems there. Let's go out to Dave here. Dave says, I didn't like the White pick. Dave, again,
wrong there, man.
Right. I mean, I look again, a lot of people saying he regressed. It hurts to not have LeVon.
Rashad White.
Right.
Not Devin White.
Oh, he didn't like the White pick? I thought he was saying Devin White.
No, I think he's talking about Rashad White, the running back they took in the 3rd round. I could be wrong. But either way, I mean, I think White has a bounce back season, but I like the Rashad White pick a lot.
I do too.
It's going to be really interesting to see him get into camp because, he's drawn comparisons, not just from Herm Edwards, not just from Jason Light, not just from himself, not just from me and the guys at Pewter Report watching and studying his tape, to guys like Le'Veon Bell with his patience and his ability to let the hole open up for him, with his running style like a Marcus Allen and an Eric Dickerson, his ability to just be a phenomenal pass catcher out of the backfield. There's some things he's going to work on, but I think this guy is going to be an incredible outlet. He's going to have to get better at pass blocking right away. Like you want to see the field this year, you need to be out there and just having Vita Vea run at you every practice after practice and say, hey, let me try to block you. Let me try to and just get hit and get up, get hit and get up, and do whatever you can to figure out how to block a big guy like Vita Vea. Because if you could do that, you'll be fine against anybody else. But, I mean, that's the one thing knocking his game. But he's willing, man. He'll go up against anybody, any size, nose tackles, whatever. He's just got to get better at the technique and get better at that. But I think he'll probably pass Keyshawn Vaughn as the number 2 option on the team fairly early. And I think he might make Giovanni Bernard a little bit redundant in his pass catching role, if he can excel like the way I think he can. I've been high on this kid. Another guy who I had on my Bucks battle playing along with Logan Hall and the tight end Kate Otten back March 10th, I put that out. So we're talking almost 3 months now. I've been high on these guys and soaked that the Bucks drafted them, because what I saw when I watched them were not just, good athletes, good football production, but also just absolutely Bucks fits, and they're going to be great for this team.
Absolutely. I tell you what, we got JC Allen up here to report here on the Sports Web Live on the Hub. I love St. Pete and Amped Up Sports. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. A lot of people talked about this pick. Pat McAfee likes the punter. Lots of controversy there. I mean, it seems like Bradley Pinion, his days could be done with that $2.9 million cap. Definitely underachieved last year. So are the Bucks moving in that direction, JC? And there's a reason why you draft a punter in the 4th round, right?
I mean, yeah, I definitely think so. You look at the $2.9 million, the biggest thing, the regression that he's had every year since he's been with the Bucks. He has, kind of fallen off his production as far as touchbacks, as far as punts, yards per punt have all dropped down. He obviously had the 2 big kickoff blunders in the Rams game. So I think when you put all those things together, the writing's on the wall. And then when you listen to a guy like Keith Armstrong just rave about Jake Camarda, the punter they drafted from Georgia.
Yeah.
It's just, he didn't even, it's like Pinion was already cut, man. He was like, this kid's going to be able to boom it for us. He's going to be able to do this. He's going to be able to do that. I think that the way this kid does, he's going to fit right into it. Like, you got Pinion still on the team, right? But, so, and that kid, he can do it all, right? He can kick it. He can kick off. He can hold. And, when you have a guy who's Pinion's age, who is making that much money entering the last year of his deal, no guaranteed money, you can just cut him and then book the 2.9 comes right off. You look at his touchback percentage, it has steep decline. He was at 90.7% in 2019, 85% in 2020, dropped down to 79.8%, had off-season surgery. They had Sterling Hoffrichter that was, filled in for him while he was injured this season. He managed on 6 punts an abysmal 37.8 yards per punt.
Whoa.
6 touchbacks on kickoffs.
I mean, and that's the reason. And fans are saying on Facebook, and I see this all the time, well, you can get a guy off the street. No, you can't. You can't get a guy off the street. And they felt like, 4th round pick was where you need to go. Then go with it if it helps your team out. And I get it. People still have a bad taste in their mouth after the Roberto Aguayo disaster from FSU. But I trust Jason Light, and I trust what this organization did in this draft. So
absolutely, and you look at what he was able to do on an SEC, one of the biggest stages in the game against Alabama, his big 62-yard punt. Sure. He finished with 45.5 yards per punt average over his 4 seasons. Last year, he only had 6 punts go for touchbacks his senior year. 17 of his punts pinned opponents within the 20-yard line. 18 went for over 50 yards. He shows great control. Our own Josh Capel over here actually created a brand new stat for punters. He did some deep dive onto this stuff. It's called the Pina Stat, right? And how fitting of a name is Pina, and it stands for percentage of ideal net yards. So, for example, if the team is punting from its 39-yard line, the ideal yards would be 60, because you want every, the ideal yard, the ideal outcome is to pin them down at the 1-yard line. So if you're punting from the 39, ideal yards would be 60 yards to get them down at the 1-yard line. If the punter boots the ball 49 yards, 8-yard return, net average would be 41. So his Pina would be a 68.33 percentage for that punt. So he just created this own stat, and then he goes on to comparing that with everyone who people wanted a punter. Peter, we've heard about this. We need a punter. We need a punter. And if this was a Matt Arasia selection, Peter,
right?
I don't think we're having this big of a deal. I think punt God is, but if you look at the way punt God, yes, he can boom the ball, right? He can hit it, but he doesn't have the same control. And go on pewterreport.com and read the article, The Grinding the Tape with Jake Camarda. And he breaks it down that if you want a punter with better control, that this guy was the best one in the draft. And they didn't even like Arasia over Stout, who was the first punter taken. So it's a punter. I get it. 4th round pick. Some people love it. Some people hate it. So whatever. He opens up $2.9 million. That's money to sign Gronk, money to sign Sue potentially, money to sign maybe an outside guy like Julio, maybe an outside edge rusher to add to the mix as a rotation guy like Justin Houston.
It's a good point.
You've got some extra money to play with.
Yeah, you do. You absolutely do. I'll tell you what, let's get out to the comments here. Once again, Christopher Cole, undrafted free agent wide receivers we signed. What do you think of them?
They're all pretty small. I'm not going to lie. But the production's there. I mean, one of these guys, he got the Triple Crown. There's only been, a handful of receivers. The last ones to do it was Michael Crabtree with Texas Tech and Devontae Smith. Put up over 1,900 yards, over 100 receptions, and 17 touchdowns last season. So it's super productive. The other guy had 1,700 yards with 15 touchdowns and over 100 receptions. So, but they're small. They're 5'7", 5'8", 5'9". So we'll see how that all plays into it. Some of them aren't exactly the fastest guys. I'll be doing a breakdown on those undrafted free agents, all of them, coming up here soon at Pewter Report. And then I'll get into the tryout player guys too, give a little insight on some of those guys as well, as a roster reset here and kind of just looking at where the Bucs are at their total roster with the guys they've drafted, guys they brought in free agency, and guys that they have signed as undrafted free agents. So, but yeah, I mean, we'll see. They're going to have to make their mark on special teams. They need to show up as a gunner. Yep. And that's going to be the biggest way they're going to get onto the field because this is a pretty deep wide receiver room. So, if they can show it on special teams and show some splash plays when they're on offense, I mean, let's face it, if they're amazing on offense, but they suck at special teams, these guys aren't going to cut it. So, that's where they're going to have to show out.
That's it. You're going to earn a position on this team with, doing the extra work, and that comes down to special teams. And if you can do that, you'll earn a place on this team. If you can't, it's like broadcasting. When I was first getting into broadcasting, people were always telling me, you got to learn how to edit. You got to learn how to work a camera. You got to learn how to do this. If you could just talk on the camera, it's not good enough. You got to do more. And of course, I took their advice. It took me a little while, but I took their advice, and here we are on the sports web. All right. Dave says Gronk is coming back, just waiting to sign after OTAs, come back for camp. Dave again, Honey Badger is going to get his feelings hurt, just like in the Super Bowl. He's not the same player anymore. Dave says, question for both of you, which one of these rookies will make the biggest impact this year? I'll tell you right now, just talking to Luke Gedeke, the right tackle in college out of Central Michigan, now more than likely a left guard. I even asked him about his inspiration. Ali Marpet at a small school. He said, small school guys got to stick together. Loves Braden Smith and also loves Zach Martin. Talk about this guy a little bit. He even talked about saying he's a glass eater. Oh, what's that all about? Talk about him.
Yeah, his self-imposed nickname, the Glass Eater. I call him the other Bash brother along there with Ryan Jensen along the line. I agree. I think he's going to step in, and I think Stinney just is saying, once that pick came by, because I think that he's going to, because Stinney could have got paid. He's on a 1-year deal. He went out there, won the job, performed well. If not by this team to sign him up, lock him up to a deal, but another team maybe would have said, okay, yeah, let's throw some couple, let's sign him to a 3-year, $9 million deal, and throw him in at a guard position. But I think this guy is just going to come in and just destroy the competition. I mean, he's just such a nasty physical player. He plays through the whistle. He's super aggressive. He's going to get in your face. I love everything about him. I was really high on Cole Strange, who the Pats drafted in the first round. But I think this guy is watching the tape more, watching what he's capable of. Dane Brugler had him as his 5th ranked guard in the draft. I think he's going to be an absolute monster, absolute animal, going to come in. And the best thing about, I know a lot of people, and myself included, was like, don't draft a guard in the first round. Don't draft a guard in the first round. You don't necessarily need to draft a guard early. Look what Tom Brady's been able to do, his quick release. You look at some of the guys that Stephen Neal stepped in as a wrestler, not even playing football with the Patriots, and was able to become a really solid guard for them. until he retired. So I was like, you got some guys there. You know, you got Leverett, you got Hainsey, you got Stinney. Let them battle it out. And I think you've got two solid guys next to him in Smith and Jensen that they'll help make up for it. But now you put a guy as talented as Gadecki in there and as mean as Gadecki in there with those two guys on the outside. I just think it's a recipe for having potentially one of the best lines in the league at pass blocking. I think they're going to do a heck of a job opening up some running lanes in the running game. I like Logan Hall too, especially if Sue doesn't come back. I think he's going to be a force, being able to play that versatile style. They're going to have him gain some weight, get in the gym, get on a diet to bulk up a little bit. And I think, he's got some good guys to learn from as well in that room, even without, Kasu. I think, Vita and Golson are going to take him right under his wing and get this guy. He loves football. He's super humble, super laid back. And I'm excited to see what he can do. And another guy too, we just talked about him at length. I think Camarda's going to have one of the biggest impacts. Its field position is huge. And
it is so huge. If you want to pride yourself on defense, you have to pin the other team back. And at the end of the day, people will look at that and say, once again, you can get a punter anywhere you want to. But if you have the right type of punter, strategically, if you will, if you have the right type of punter to pin that team back in those areas, that helps your defense out. Those are the type of things that some fans don't look at that are important at the end of the day.
Well, people hate punters too because it means that you didn't convert on third downs, right? Or you didn't go for it on 4th and 2. Right. People don't like punters as it is anyways. But, you're right. I think the field position, not only that, on kickoffs as well. The guy's a good holder. He's had some experience kicking field goals. If you need an emergency guy, I think Jose Borregales beats out Ryan Suckup anyways for that job. So you've got two guys that can boot the ball deep on kickoffs. Maybe they keep each other's legs fresh by doing that. The field position game is huge, and we saw what happened last year in the Rams playoff game, guys. We saw that in the Cowboys game, week 1. The ball goes out of bounds, but the Rams playoff game, you give these Rams team 2 short fields at the 40-yard line, and they make you pay for it. So
they do. And that's the kind of hitting yards and I don't think they're hitting yards. I just think the Bucs paid attention to it, and they said, look, our special teams has to get better. And I think, honestly, they were very disenchanted with not only the kicking situation, but the punting situation. And that's the reason why you may see some big time competition coming into camp.
And there were 4 punters taken in this draft, guys. It's not like, they're just like, oh, we need a punter. We'll take anyone on the street, whatever. It's just a punter, This was a really good class for punters.
Right.
You don't see 4 punters go. That's a record in NFL draft history. It was a really good draft for punters, and the Bucs want to get into one because A, they can save $2.9 million. B, Sterling Hoff, Bradley. We'll start with Bradley Pinion. Has clearly declined in each of his last 3 seasons. And C, they got to look at Sterling Hoff Frichter in a game last year, and he wasn't it. And then you say you can find one, but go ahead, go on over the cap right now. Look at the punters available and tell me who enthralls you and who makes you go, oh yeah, this is a good guy that we can get. And likewise, that's on a rookie deal that you're paying peanuts to. You're going to pay this dude. He's not even account to the top 51 contracts on the team because he's not going to, he's going to make that less. He's going to make like $700,000 this year, guys.
And guess what, guys? All the money you save on special teams, if you get rid of a sucker, which I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it may happen. The money you get rid of, also the punting money you get rid of, guess what? You can go and apply to a Gronk, a Sue, or a free agent. We're on with JC Allen of Pewter Report here on the Sports Web Live on the Hub. Of course, I love St. Pete and Amped Up Sports. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. So biggest impact, in my opinion, is going to be Hall, because even if Sue does sign, I think what they're going to try to create, they're going to try to get more, not only for him to stop the run, because we heard that he can get skinny and stop the run, which, for a guy, and even Todd Bowles is talking about, 283. I mean, and this guy's not.
He'll be up to like 295 by camp starts.
Right, 295 to stop the run. But what they want to do is also create more pressure. I think Hall can make the biggest impact. Besides the left guard, let's talk about the rest of this draft. Who could you see make the biggest impact on this team, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, I really like Cade Otton as well. Like I said earlier, I was high on him, a guy who can do a little bit of everything. We've seen a decline from Cam Brady as well. Him and Brady not necessarily on the same page. He's going to come in. He's a hard worker. I think he's going to get after it right away, can block. He'll be able to get out there fairly early too if he picks up the playbook. because the Bucs like to pass and run out of a lot of 12 personnel looks as well. And when you got a guy like Cam Brate who can't block, you got two guys with Gronk and a K-Dot in there who can block and catch and receive as well. Kind of throws defenses off balance a little bit. So as you have a guy like Cam Brate out there, are they running it? Well, maybe they're passing it, so it kind of gives them a little bit more of an illusion when it comes to that sense. But I think, as a gunner, potentially as a returner, and even as a guy who maybe has certain matchup duties in the slot, or on the exterior, Zion McCollum with his speed and athleticism. I mean, this is the guy who they traded up a future 4th round pick, got a 7th back for it. That's crazy.
Talk about this kid, because they actually there was a story out there where the Bucs promised to draft him, and there was some talk.
I wrote that story.
Yes, you did, and I read that on Pewter Report. Definitely check out my man right there, JC Allen. To me, he is the prospect of the sports web. We groomed him. I groomed him. We groomed him to go to Pewter Report. He's doing big things. They're writing great articles. But talk about him in this story about the Bucs promising to draft him.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, he met with the guys at the combine and it was like, hey, I'm going to run a 4.4, 4.33, and the scout at the time was like, if you run sub 4.5, we're going to draft you. Sure enough, he goes out there and he just runs a 4.33, and not only that, he just tests out of his mind. They have a thing called a relative athletic score. It puts all of your everything, your height, your weight, your athleticism, your 40 time, your cone time, your 10-yard shuttle, your 20-yard shuttle, all this stuff all goes into this one computer database, and it gives you out your relative athletic score. He had the highest score of since 1987 of combine history. Crazy. The highest score. He's that athletic of a guy. He's got the height, 6'2". He's got the production, over 15 interceptions, something crazy like 54, I think, pass deflection in his career. I don't have his stats in front of me. 54 pass deflections, 15 interceptions, had 3 interceptions each of his years at Sam Houston State. He's still got some refinement to do. Obviously, he went in the 5th round. I had a 3rd round grade on him. I was shocked he was going to be there. I thought the Bucs could seriously consider him at 133. Wow. They didn't. They ended up moving back in, got him at 157, giving up a future 4th, which I know people sometimes get a little upset about trading future picks. They're getting a 5th and a 7th from the deals that Jordan Whitehead and OJ Howard signed, potentially another 7th if Rojo can hit all of his incentives. So you have another 7th as well from the Jets this upcoming season. That was included in the Steve McClendon trade 2 years ago. So, I mean, you got 5 and 2 7s. You can trade those back up, get in the 4th round. Your 4th round's back, and you have your picks in all your rounds. Not a big deal. But I think, he's got a very good opportunity to start off, obviously, on special teams. So he's going to have to make his mark. But also if he can pick things up, and by all means that we've heard from, obviously, we've heard from safety coach Nick Rapone, who actually coached the coach at Sam Houston and heard great things about his smarts.
Casey Keeler, yes. We heard that today. Yes.
To pick things up quickly. So, I mean, if he can get down, he might be kind of in that rotation with his size and speed ability, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do and how they use him. I also like Chief Keef. I think he's going to be an absolute – I think he's a surprise to make the roster. They'll keep 4 tight ends because this guy's an absolute mauler in the blocking game. He doesn't care. Pass blocking, run blocking, put you on your face blocking. His family's got T-shirts made that says Kiefer House of Pancakes on it. It's Keith's house, not Kiefer. So I mean, I love the pick there. He's got red beard, red long hair. Between him, Jensen, and Godecki, I mean, there are Doyle rules. We're talking about the Bash brothers, Legion of Doom, brother. It's gonna be. I think he sneaks on this roster.
JC, it seemed like it was a theme. Like they're gonna get guys that are physically opposing. They have that attitude where they want to smash your face in. And they were upset about that loss against the Rams, as they should be. They got out physical in that game. They want to get more physical.
Right. And high character. All these guys are very high character.
Right.
And if you look at their stories, Godecki is a walk-on that got a scholarship. Logan Hall comes from a military background. Rashad White went from Division Division III to JUCO, back to breakout year at Arizona State. You look at McCollum, Division II star, played with a broken I think it was a broken wrist in the FCS championship game. You just look at all this. Kate Otten comes from a family of football coaches, so like all these guys are high character guys and everything like that. And you even look at Andre Anthony, the defensive end edge rusher from LSU. I mean, this guy, he tore his ACL earlier in the season, had 3.5 sacks in like 2 games between 2 games before he did it, and still stuck around. He was on the sideline every day, being a leader in the locker room, leader in that clubhouse for LSU. Obviously, they didn't have the greatest results last season, but and he could have just shut it down. Like, hey, I'm rehabbing. We're not doing well on the field. I'm just going to, but no, stuck around and was a leader and mentor to that young guys. Came out, just 7 months after tearing his ACL, ran a 4.63 40, and with no test, no training for it. So, I mean, you got to love the guys that they brought in, and I think they'll all either be able to contribute in certain ways, even if it's on the practice squad where they're given solid reps on the scout team, or whether they're making an impact on game day in some sort of fashion. But I'm really high on this draft. I think they probably reached for a couple guys there. They probably could have got a couple guys a little later, but I understand the reasoning for them and looking at the tape. And obviously some of the guys that were potential reaches, I really like his players anyways, so I wasn't too upset with it.
All right, good stuff. Let's finish up the questions, and we'll get you out of here for the night. Once again, JC Allen up, Pewter Report. Thanks a lot for your time. Dave says, correct, the running back white, but after the insight now, I like what I hear. Absolutely. See, that's the reason why we bring him on here. Welcome to the dark side. Our dark side. We're loaded at offensive line. Absolutely. Would have liked to see the Bucs sign Nick Skiba out of Wake Forest to an undrafted free agent contract to compete at kicker. Kid is good. Sandra Nagel, future agent. Mom here, watching the best sports talk show in the Tampa Bay area, the Sports Web with Amped Up Sports, the Hub, Bet US, and I Love St. Pete. She even gets it. It's amazing how she just nails that every night. How sold are you on Tryon? Joe Tryon, Shyanka. Big year here. Of course, we heard throughout the offseason, kid's got lots of ability, can get after the quarterback, but needs to get better in the run game. What do you make of him?
Yes, I mean, I think it's going to be an absolute stud. I just do. It's about getting better in the mental as well. And Larry Foote and Casey Rogers and a lot of these guys kind of talked about that. Bob Sanders, who I could listen to talk football for hours. I mean, he was just a wealth of knowledge, talking about developing plans and chopping up the game film, from last year and highlighting the missed sacks and developing plans for each individual player. The goal is to make a good player great and a great player, a Pro Bowl player, and, such and such, and using those traits and those athletic abilities to develop the right, game plan for each individual athlete to get them into their peak ability, cutting up the film and showing it to the entire room, edge room, and having each other critique each other and point out where they can get better. I think he's going to be a heck of a coach, not taking anything away from Larry Foote, but this guy's got a wealth of knowledge, years of knowledge, 20 years of coaching experience. And I think he's going to get Tryon in the right mindset, and Bowles and him are going to put him on the right position. He said one thing. He's like, you need to understand that every play Bowles calls is for you. Like, doesn't matter what it is, what the play is. It's a play he called specifically for you, and you need to go out there and do the utmost, the best you can do, the utmost you can do on any particular play. And I thought that was really cool. I was like, when you're going out there and you're like, all right, you're rushing a passer or something, you're like, all right, he's calling this play for me. I gotta make sure I show up on this play, whatever. I think that was just an awesome quote. And I think that they're going to have this kid ready to go. We already know he's got versatility, can kick inside on obviously passing downs. He's super versatile. He's obviously you look at the guy last year, he looked like a damn action figure, muscles in all the right places, the height, everything. Right. I think he's gotten probably stronger this year. He talked about how he didn't, how Tryon didn't leave Tampa. He stayed in Tampa. He worked out at the facility. He's been doing everything right. He didn't go home where there can be some distractions, and you know how that goes. You know, you make all this money, you go home, you get back tied. Everyone wants a piece of you. Everyone wants to do this. Hey, let's go here, let's go there. They all expect you to pay for it because you got these millions and everything, and that can get you in some trouble sometimes because you want to, you know, show up for your boys and show the support and the love for having my back. So they're really happy that, you know, he stuck around, and I expect a huge year from him. I'll be disappointed if he doesn't have at least 10 sacks. I think he's going to be that good this year. I mean, he left about 6 sacks on the field last year. I think he ended up with 4.5. And you know, that's,
we saw him. We talked about him, and I get it. You know, there were flashes of that in the preseason. People say, well, second, third string. But you could see the potential, and you know the reason why they drafted him in the first place. And then
you have JPP splitting time with him too.
Well, exactly. And then on top of it, he's going to be even more comfortable because he's going to be more accustomed to Todd Bowles' defense. It's not going to be like everything is going fast. It's going to slow down for him, in my opinion.
And we talk about just getting accustomed to like the playbook and the defense, but it's everything too. Knowing your surroundings, right? You're just feel comfortable. You get in your car, you drive to work, you drive home, you go to your restaurant, you go there, you go here. Like, you know where you're going, you know your surroundings, you know everything, you know, your routine, everything's going to be, you understand coming in as a rookie year, everything's brand new. You're like, oh my goodness, this is new. Where's the meeting room? Where's this? Where's that? What's going on here? I'm learning everything new every single week. And players throughout the history of, you know, for years now, I've talked about how that leap for their second season, being more comfortable with not just what to expect. Keyshawn Vaughn talked about it, not what to expect from yourself, from your coaches, from your teammates, from the organization, but also just the comfortability of knowing your surroundings and everything helped tremendously to let you just focus on one thing, and that's your job and getting to the quarterback and getting sacks. And I think he's going to do that in abundance this year.
And you have to see that, because if you lose the JPP and of course the Sue guys got to step up. Not only a Shaq has to step up, but the Anthony Nelson has to step up. And his 4th round pick, you know, it's either put up or shut up time. Right? It's put up or shut up time for that kid. And if he can do that, who knows? Maybe he'll earn another contract here. Let's go out to Christopher Cole. Last question: Suck up missed an extra point and field goal in the Rams game and missed.
Borregales, I'm telling you, get to know the name. I've been high on him since last training camp when I saw him booting 60 yarders with ease. We didn't get to see him that much in the preseason, and that was done on purpose because the Bucs did not want to showcase what they had with the kid. But then watching him in practice too during the season, he's just banging. And I actually asked that question to Keith Armstrong. I've seen tremendous growth from him. He was out there today. He's getting better with his accuracy. He's already has the leg, and it saves again. You know, I don't think he's cut before. I think Pinion is probably cut before training camp. I don't think they go to battle there, especially with the way they're talking to him. But I think Suck Up and Borregales it's going to be a tight race, and I think I'm putting my money on Borregales to win that. They saved him protected him on the practice squad every single year last year, so no one else could take him. The year prior, they did that with Greg Joseph, protected him every year. He went into camp competition, and they stuck with Suck Up. He went to the Vikings, and he was the Vikings full-time kicker all last year. You don't want to lose another young guy, I don't think.
Nope, so, you sure don't.
Especially on the deal, because it's going to save you $2 million, and you're going to be tight against the cap going all the way. That $2 million allows you to maybe make an in-season addition without having to, if you cut him at the cap right at the what's it called? I mean, and you'll get money back too, because top 51 will change and all that stuff. Top 51 contracts are the ones that count towards your 53-man roster, but you'll get some money back too if you cut any other players that make more than that. So, but that $2 million plus whatever else you get on top of it, whatever else you have left over, is a nice cushion, because we saw last year, we saw the year before that when they traded for McClendon. Last year, they brought in guys like Brashad Perriman. They brought in guys like obviously Richard Sherman, Pierre Desir. You're going to have to bring in some guys, and you need money to do that. And unless you're going to someone and restructuring or extending their deal, you know, having that $2 million from cut and suck up plus whatever else on top of it is going to be a nice little bag to have to reach into if you need it.
And I certainly think it's a great possibility. Good stuff, JC. Go ahead and promote yourself here on the Evolution.
Yeah, my tagline's right there at Twitter at JC Allen NFL. One-stop shop for all things Bucks, whether it's Pewter Report stuff, whether it's my own thoughts, whether it's coming from PFF Bucks, whether it's stats, whether it's from players, whether it's from the Bucks organization themselves. I've got everything you need. You don't need to go anywhere else, pretty much. You just follow my feed all day long, and I'm going to give you everything you need that you want to know on Twitter about the Bucks. So follow me there. Follow us at pewterreport.com. Go to pewterreport.com. Subscribe to our Pewter Pulse. You'll get emails whenever we put out a new article. That way you just click the email, open up the article, and you never have to, you'll always be in tune on when we're putting stuff out. Pewter Report podcast Monday through Thursday, 4:00. Make sure you check that out. Going through a bit of a transition period. We lost John Ledyard. He retired to a bigger calling. So it's a little sad over there, but we're going to chug through it, and we're going to continue to provide the best content, the best Buccaneers content that Tampa Bay can give you.
Absolutely. And look, I would not be surprised if that guy right there takes the reins of it. Of course, you got Scott Reynolds still, who has been in this business forever. But again, yeah, I have no doubt that Pewter Report will carry on. Good luck to John. Thanks a lot for the time here, JC, on the evolution of sports talk television. All right, my friend?
Always. And looks early morning, I'll have a few articles dropping. I'll have one on KJ Britt, his role is maybe ascending into that third linebacker spot. And also, bright and early, 7 o'clock in the morning, we learned who the Bucks are playing in Germany. So I'll have that article proofed and published right as soon as we find out. So
who do you think it is? Put your money on. Is it the Saints? Come on, tell me it's not the Saints.
No, I'm hearing some buzz about the Seahawks potentially.
Seahawks. All right. I could deal with that because that to me is a favorable game at the end
They're
of the
not
day.
going to take Kansas City away. They can't do that. I mean, the Bucks were able to protect the Green Bay Packers game from going over there. I still don't think the NFL, it just make too much money. I get you're trying to introduce a new market and whatever to football, but I think you can't take Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady away from Bucks fans. I already taken away one home game. Now you're going to take the marquee home game, other than the Aaron Rodgers matchup. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be the Seahawks. They've got a pretty wide stretch anyways. It's still a notable name. Even without Russell Wilson, maybe, fans over there will still, the Seahawks, yeah, they've been good the last couple of years. I know the Seahawks, so, I mean, it's not like they've been like a dumpster team for the last, they're not the Falcons, right? They're not like the Jets or something like that. So
Well, they could be. They could be with Drew Lock. I mean, anytime
they will be, but I mean, they haven't been over the last couple of years. There's still a name that when you think of the Seahawks, you don't necessarily think of a crappy team besides the last year and going forward,
Good point. All right, JC Allen of Pewter Report. Check it out there. Thanks a lot for your time here on The Evolution. All right.
Always, my friend. Talk to you soon.
All right. Talk to you soon right there. Good stuff. So there you go. I gave you a show on Tuesday night. I hate Tuesday nights. I don't know why. I just hate it. We talked about your Tampa Bay Lightning. Calm down. Game 2 tomorrow night. Again, we will not be here. Maybe after the game, if you're good. Whether you're good or not, we'll probably be doing a post-game edition. Hopefully a winning post-game edition for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now you got to hear that tomorrow night. Put the biscuit in the basket. Don't get shut out. Again, let me please not hear that damn Hall & Oates song, Making My Dreams Come True. How about no? And then once again, we talked about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the draft in general. What were your thoughts of it? Lots of wide receivers being traded. We find out yesterday. DeAndre Hopkins.
How about no?
6 games suspended. And he doesn't know why, of course. He doesn't know what he took. Of course, he'll go on and say in the same article, I have an idea of what I'm taking. Oh, really? Then how did you get suspended for 6 games? So that's a big time loss. DeAndre Hopkins for the Arizona Cardinals. With all the stuff that's going on in the offseason with Kyler Murray, they trade for Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown to Arizona. Is that going to work? A lot of people say the reason why you do that is because, of course, Murray is familiar with Brown from Oklahoma. Makes sense. Can the production translate? We'll see. And then for me, the shocker was A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown goes from the Tennessee Titans to the Philadelphia Eagles. Oh, boy. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts better produce. I mean, and that's his buddy too. So we'll see how that plays out. But Philly making some big time moves. Detroit having a pretty good draft, wouldn't you say? The New York team's having a good draft. I get it. You can't win a Super Bowl championship with a good draft, but you can set up the foundation, right? Giants having a good draft. Jets doing a great job. Sauce Gardner at 4. 10, you get Garrett Wilson. Then you get back up for Jermaine Johnson out of Florida State, which I have no earthly idea why that guy was dropped down. In fact, I feel like if he were on the board at 27, the Bucs wouldn't have traded out. They probably would have taken him because he's a stud. So you get 3 first-round picks if you're the Jets. You did a good job there. I like what Detroit did with getting Hutchinson at 2. I talked about that. Local kid, constant motor. He's a Dan Campbell guy. Makes lots of sense. The production is on the field. The proof is in the pudding. I talked about Trayvon Walker going to the Jaguars. Didn't like it. I understand it. They want to find a possible Micah Parsons there. But not everybody coming out of college is Micah Parsons. Okay? And if you're the Jaguars, I don't really understand it. Let's go out to Christopher Cole. Jets will make the playoffs this year. We shall see. Because as always, it comes down, Christopher Cole, to the quarterback play. Can Zach Wilson take that next step? And we heard Deebo Samuel. I was surprised he wasn't traded. We heard the Jets turn that deal down. There were no takers for him. Why would they be? I'm going to tell you right now, San Francisco's got a problem on their hands if he doesn't play. So we'll see how that works out. But wide receivers being traded. Of course, Treylon Burks going to Tennessee. A rookie wide receiver. I talked about that. The translation, can that translate over? For every Jefferson and a Jefferson like that coming out for the Minnesota Vikings and doing what he did. Of course, talk about the wide receiver who the name escapes me right now for the Cincinnati Bengals. I have no idea. Must be tired because it is Tuesday. I'll think about it in a moment. That guy translates to the NFL, has a big year, going 5th overall. But for every wide receiver that does that, there's always an opportunity for a wide receiver to fall on their face. So we'll see how that works out with Tennessee. And then, of course, drafting a Malik Willis, because that's the future. And then, of course, Ryan Tannehill going all Brett Favre today, saying, it's not my job to mentor him. Okay. Most likely he's going to probably take your job in a couple of years if that's the way the organization wants it to work out. Obviously, they felt like that was a position of need that you address for the future. So they addressed it. Besides that, I mean, I loved what the Bucs did. But again, at the end of the day, we could sit here and say we love what the Bucs did last year, and it doesn't necessarily translate over to the field. It takes a couple years to see what happens. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Thanks to all our guests, Mr. Leo Haggerty, former Coach Scout and now media member of Amped Up Sports, Night Sports Productions, and also JC Allen of Pewter Report. We'll see you soon here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Go Bolts tomorrow night. Take Game 2 versus the Toronto Maple Leafs, and do 3 things for me on this Tuesday night edition of the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Once again, like and subscribe on YouTube. Like the Hub, like I Love St. Pete, and of course, Amped Up Sports. More to come here in the next couple months. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake, your Rolex reporter. What time is it? It's my time, and it's your time. Have a great night.
Stan Arthur here for the I Love St. Pete Facebook group. If you're a business owner looking to connect with tens of thousands of potential new local customers, you owe it to yourself to get enrolled in our Key Tag Rewards program. Since 2019, we've signed up more than 200 local merchants. Sponsor opportunities are available too, such as our group banner ad and even your own custom key tags. Just go to stpetekeytag.com, get enrolled, and get ready to get busy. stpetekeytag.com.
Well, we think with Logan, we think he can play the 5, the 4, and the 3 technique. We think that he rushes very well inside, and that's what probably piqued our interest the most. His value in the passing game is 3 technique. So he's got, a lot of natural ability. He's got a lot of room for improvement, just like all these guys. But I would say his rushing skills, his from the inside, is what we like the most.
That was General Manager Jason Light tonight after selecting Logan Hall, defensive lineman out of the University of Houston. Hall was asked about how it felt to be a Buck.
It's really been an amazing process. Obviously, I was a bit anxious, but if I wasn't too invested on where I would have went, God has a plan for me, and I knew He was going to put me just where I belong. So, really good vibes. Just the people I love in the house, really close family, and my agent. So, I've been having a blast. Got to see a lot of guys I know that I worked with go early and go in the first. So it's been really cool for me.
Todd Bowles and the Bucs weren't done from there as they traded back into the second round to get Central Michigan offensive lineman Luke Gedeke, who most likely will play the left guard spot. I asked him, did he get any inspiration from former Bucs offensive lineman Ali Marpet? And here's what he had to say.
Us smaller school guys, yeah, I definitely I feel like we play with a chip on our shoulder at the end of the day. He's definitely an inspiration. I really like to model my game around. I really like watching Braden Smith a lot, right tackle for the Colts. Just like watching his hand usage. And then Zach Martin as well for the Cowboys. I really like watching him. Just the carnage he creates every play, just taking it to guys. There's not too many plays where he's not throwing guys onto the ground. So
the Bucs finished off their night with a third-round running back, Rashard White from Arizona State. His former coach, Herm Edwards, compared him to the great Marcus Allen.
I feel like everybody has their opinion. And of course, Coach, Herm opinion is very credible because what he has done. And I had a great relationship with Coach Herm. Wouldn't trade it for the world. He has taught me a lot and helped me get to where I am at today. Definitely. And he just really, helped me just be me, just become more understanding of being a mature man. And when I mean that, just I have a daughter, things like that. So just being a father, just being a good human being in society and things play out how they're supposed to.
So night 1 is in the books for the NFL draft for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They pick up a defensive tackle, a guard, and a flashy running back. Now the question is, what can Jason Light and crew do on day 2 of the NFL draft? On site from One Buccaneer Place, I'm your host, Peter Blake.